Hello everybody. This video is primarily about McBee Methodist Church that is located in Conestee, South Carolina, which is in Greenville County. The church is a very interesting and historical building for several reasons. But first, I want to spend a few minutes looking at the individuals involved with making sure this church came to be a part of the Conestee community, and the roles each man played in the construction of this unique and rare building. John Adams was born in Stirlingshire, Scotland on November 29, 1809. In 1834, after 7 years of apprenticeship as a millwright, or what we now call a mechanical engineer, Adams decided to follow several of his brothers to America. Shortly after he married Mary Ann Simpson, they set sail for America and landed in Charleston, South Carolina, sometime in November of 1834. Adams had planned on settling in South Carolina, but while in Charleston, he met a Mr. Fullenwider, I could not verify first name, who had manufacturing and mining businesses in Lincolnton, North Carolina, and Adams accepted a position with Mr. Fullenwider. It was in Lincolnton that Adams met Vardry McBee in 1836. McBee convinced Adams to come to Greenville and work with him on his existing and future projects in the Greenville area. Vardry McBee was born in the Spartanburg district of South Carolina on June 19, 1775. He was actually raised in Thickety, South Carolina, which is a community in Cherokee County, also in South Carolina. Thickety is about 12 miles northeast of Spartanburg. McBee was the youngest of 10 children. He grew up working his parents' farm, and in 1794, he moved to Lincolnton, North Carolina, to apprentice under his brother-in-law, who was a saddler. Now, a saddler makes and repairs saddles as well as other furnishings for horses, and his brother-in-law was also a postmaster. McBee left Lincolnton for a short while to work in Charleston, South Carolina, and to farm in Logan County, Kentucky. McBee returned to Lincolnton and resumed his trade as a saddler and a merchant, and he did very well. In 1804, he married the daughter of a prominent local family, Jane Alexander. They had 9 children. 7 of their children lived to maturity. I would like to mention here that McBee had been purchasing land for a while, and in 1815, he purchased over 11,000 acres of land in South Carolina, in the upstate of South Carolina. He then began establishing industrial businesses along the Reedy River and also other locations on this property. He also purchased 295 acres in Conestee, South Carolina, just right down the road from Greenville in Greenville County, where the church would eventually be built. Also, the 11,000 acres in the upstate would eventually become downtown Greenville, earning McBee the title Father of Greenville. That is a brief summary of the background of both John Adams and Vardry McBee. As mentioned earlier, McBee persuaded Adams to move to Greenville and help maintain his current businesses as well as design and develop new ventures. One area where Adams played a large role was the development of the McBee factory located along the Reedy River in Conestee, South Carolina. Adams was in charge of renovations of both the buildings and equipment they housed, and also the dam on the Reedy River. Over the years, the mill and dam have been renovated, and in 1909, the mill was rechartered as Conestee Mills. The mill was closed in 1971, but the buildings and dam still remain. In 2014, the mill and dam were placed on the National Register of Historic Places. McBee Methodist Church was built in 1841 by John Adams at the request of Vardry McBee. McBee wanted his employees who worked at his mill in Conestee to have a church to go to. It has been said that if you worked at the McBee factory, then you were required to attend the church. The reason this church is so unique is due to its design. The church is octagonal, meaning it has 8 sides, and there are only 2 other octagonal brick churches of this type in the United States. McBee Methodist Church is certainly special and rare. John Adams planned this church in the octagonal design in order to secure more seating space. I have read that the church has 1/5 more floor area than a square design with the same total length of wall. The church is small. It has a seating capacity of 150 people. At one time, the church had a small balcony that was used by slaves to attend services that held 50 people, but the balcony was removed at some point. In front of the church, next to the road, is a drop-off area that is an original part of the church property. This was used for carriages, and I'm sure other modes of transportation of the times, to drop off churchgoers so they could walk straight into the church. I did not have any idea what this was when I first saw it, but Pastor Brian Underwood, the current pastor of the church, pointed it out to me and told me the story behind it. The bricks of the church were made locally by slaves and appear to be holding up well. The base of the church is whitewashed, the roof is shingled, and of course octagonal, with a housing at the top that covers the church bell. Pastor Underwood did show me where recently they had some bees that were actually boring through a small section of mortar of the church. I had never heard of this before and looked up what kind of bees could do this, and sure enough, mason bees will do this, and if not stopped, can cause structural damage to buildings. The windows are original, but I did read that they were added after the church was built, so I'm not sure if this means shortly after the church was constructed or a few years later. I could not find any information on this. Also, these oak trees are outstanding, and Pastor Underwood said that in every picture he has seen of the church, the trees are there. And actually, they're right beside each other. I don't know how old these trees are, but I'm sure they have seen a lot of history here. When I was shown these 2 concrete slabs at the back of the lot, I had no idea what they were for. I was told that these were where the outhouses were located at one time. The outhouses were, of course, done away with, and the holes were covered with these concrete slabs. Before we take a look inside the church, I wanted you to take a look at these 2 steps. These steps are original to the church. The walkway leading to the steps is not original to the structure. When you enter the church, several things grab your attention. The first thing that caught my eye was how the sunlight lights up the colors of the windows. And you can see the clear shape of the walls that form the octagon of the church. The semicircle banister at the pulpit also stands out and is a key feature of the church. Here is another example of how the windows react with the sunlight and how it brings out the different colors of each pane. After entering the church, if you turn around, there are a couple of things worth noting. If you look above the door, you can see a dark line going across the wall. This is where the balcony was. There was a door to the left as you entered the church that led to the steps to go to the balcony. Of course, all of that is no longer a part of the church. The second thing is the door itself. The lock on the door is the original lock from 1841. I'm not sure about the doors, and Pastor Underwood wasn't sure either. But if anyone knows, please let us know in the comments section. Here is a closer look at the lock. It is hard to see the detail of the lock because of the color. But this lock has been doing its job for a long time. And not only is the lock original, they still have the original key to the lock. And as you can see, it has seen a lot of use. I wonder how many people have used that key over the years to lock and unlock the church. The wood flooring in the church is original and looks fantastic. There has been some carpet added over some areas of the floor, but there is enough of the original flooring visible to keep the history of the church intact. Also, the chairs are not original, but are antiques in their own right. I read that they came from an old local theater that was being torn down, but they fit right in with the church, in my opinion. The banister that is at the front of the pulpit is original. Pastor Underwood told me that at some point someone painted the banister, but he wasn't sure when this was done originally. Painting the banister is now done as needed, I assume, but I did not ask. Behind the lectern, you can see a raised portion of the floor. This can actually be unlatched and moved. This is the entrance to the crawl space of the church. As a matter of fact, it is the only way to access the crawl space. When you look at the ceiling, it also represents the octagonal design of the church. You can count the 8 different sections of the octagon. And if you look closely, you can see the rope that is used for ringing the church bell. And speaking of the bell, the rope is located pretty much in the center of the church. Pastor Underwood rang the bell to show me that it still works. He also let me ring the bell, and as I did, I wondered how many people had done this since 1841. And also, you can see Pastor Underwood here in this picture. He was in the middle of working on a project when we made phone contact, and he dropped what he was doing and met me at the church, and he could not have been nicer. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed putting it together. Being able to have access to this beautiful historic church was a wonderful experience for me. For those of you who would like to visit the church, it is located at 53 Main Street in Conestee, South Carolina. They have services on Sundays at 10 a.m. They also have a food pantry on site, and they accept food donations, non-perishable, on the last Saturday of each month from 10 a.m. until noon. If you can contribute, I know it would be appreciated. If you like this video, please click the like and subscribe buttons and also comment. It would really help my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will have another video out soon, and I look forward to seeing you then.